Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to sit with piriformis syndrome so you feel better. Hey everyone, I'm Sebastian at Performance Play Sports Care, part of locally world-famous chiropractors in Costa Mesa, California. We're going to use this chair, the standard Amazon swivel chair, and we're going to use this box as different versions for different scenarios. Keep in mind that this may not work for you. Everybody has slightly different wrinkles onto their problem. Most people don't have a clear-cut piriformis syndrome. There's other attributes to their problem. So before we actually continue, I'm going to give you a general guideline to see if this video is even right for you. Number one, the clear-cut piriformis syndrome is going to be right into here. Notice I'm almost putting my finger into my hip pocket. I'm not talking about sit bone pain. I'm not talking about hamstring ache. I'm not talking about IT band, TFL, upper glute, SI joint, low back, adductor stuff, groin things. But if you have those, we have a webinar in the corner which covers different reasons why you could be having those. To be fair, most people don't have clear cut, just only hip pocket. They have other parts, and that's because there's compensation and everybody has a different wrinkle on things. So if you want one-on-one attention and suggestions, just know that we are available, link in the description below. We see people virtually and in person too. So we're going to first start with this chair here and start with the standard demographics, which is going to be people who are, let's just generally speaking, under the age of probably 55-ish. And that's super general. Keep in mind that this is not a hard, fast rule. This is just general. This usually works really well for people who are certainly under the age of 20. Normally, we're going to have to actually allow the lumbar support to do its job. Now, I know there's no arms on this chair, and I picked this chair in our office for a reason, because it's easy to manipulate and feel better for most people. So the first thing is your feet need to be actually flat on the ground. I'd probably put it to where your thighs are roughly in parallel. So this is a little bit too deep for me, and so just about here. Also, if you look from the front, I actually have my feet wider, and that's why having no arms on the chair is actually helpful. Next thing I'm going to do to set up is I'm actually going to make it so I'm swiping my hips onto the backing of the chair. And you notice that I'm pretty flush against the back rest. You know why it's called a back rest? Because it rests the back. Most people don't actually use the backrest. They just kind of slouch into the chair. And in the difference between this position and this position in how you feel may be pretty dramatic. Okay, so this is option one, is use the backrest. Number two is called perching. Perching is a little bit more difficult. I find I can be in this position for a lot longer, but it is limiting. Sometimes when people are doing things like, I have a little rolly table here, I can't just lay back in the chair and do this kind of thing. It doesn't work. So I'll have to get a little bit closer. In order to do that, you can do something like a little bird would do, is they would perch. They would perch on the end here, okay? So if I were to perch on the end here, so let me get that out of camera for a sec. If I'm going to perch on the end here, make sure your feet are completely on the ground, and then you're just going to rock forward into whatever you need to do, all right? Now, if you are having trouble finding the overall position that works well for you, you can dial the hips forward, dial them back, dial them forward, dial them back. You may find somewhere in the middle actually works really well for your piriformis. And yes, I'm aware we're putting pressure onto the sit bone, but remember, we're not talking about sit bone problems. We're talking about piriformis problems. So if you do have that problem, there's a link for the webinar in the corner. Okay, so these are the two versions I'd use for the most part for people under the age of 55. For people a little older, honestly, what I would do is I would tell them just to relax, okay? Now, obviously, things like desktop work or computer work and so on may have to change a little bit. I'm okay with them doing this if it makes their problem feel better. Why? Because it puts the hips it puts the pelvis into a posteriorly tilted position. It allows the low back to round. And for those of you who are dealing with stenosis, foraminal stenosis, creating piriformis tightness, this may just even work even better. Also, people with cross syndromes like lower cross may work better with this position as well. So overall, sitting is not the best thing for this problem, but if you must sit, there's obviously modifications as you see. So this is your option for the older population. Now, let's just say if your task changed, you don't need to work on the computer. You can just relax. And so we call this the Campfire seated position. There's a reason why I have this so low, by the way. It's because it's a low log, and this allows my hips to go below my knees. It allows my low back to round and just relax. And yes, it's okay to round your back. It's not okay to round your back under high loads like back squatting. So round your back, relax. You may just be surprised how good this makes your piriformis feel. Just sit here and tell a campfire story. So those are the two object changes you can make. Armchairs are really hard. Cars are pretty hard. We do have videos on cars and how to change your car on our YouTube channel, but the easiest thing to do is just to make it so you're doing a series of exercises and stretches throughout the day that make it so you can do either seated position. Because I'm sure a lot of you who've been dealing with this, you've had this before and it went away, and then when it went away, you can sit in any position that you want to, but when it's active and currently bothering you, you can't. And so, usually doing some activity modifications, some stretches, some exercises curated specifically to what's going on with you and your variant of this problem is kind of important, and it makes it so the reoccurrence rate is much lower, it makes it so the severity is much lower, and it makes it so you can go back into full activity as you want to for most people. So if you guys are looking for more help, we have a link in the description below to work with us directly one-on-one so we can create you a program. Or if you're looking for all the free content we have on YouTube, we have a channel that has a search bar. All YouTube channels have search bars. Use a search bar and search whatever topic you want on ours. We have low back pain, we have sciatica, we have piriformis, IT band, TFL, you name it. We have all this stuff, and we have all this stuff too. So those are all of our free resources, but all the more complicated scenarios and more efficient ones, the devil's in the details. So let us work with you. We'll see you next time.